There are around 8 billion people on Earth, 6 million years of human evolution to make us into who we are today. Technology and innovation are booming. We are incredibly lucky and have significantly more opportunities than our predecessors did. This is accompanied by endless possibilities. But with it comes fathomless choices, crippling uncertainty. So we do things that we probably shouldn't, say things that we end up regretting. We forget how to live meaningfully. Nevertheless, as temporary residents on this beautiful earth, we should continue to try and live our lives in the way that we want to. Sometimes all we need is a push in the right direction, a reminder of what's important. That's what Life Fulfilled is here for. Each audio essay mixes psychology and philosophy topics into digestible episodes that inspire thought in listeners. I hope that you can decide what to take with you in order to cultivate a life worth living. My name is Alina, and welcome to the beginning of the rest of your life. This episode focuses on the spread of meaninglessness and what we can do to resist it. In my early childhood, I would love wishing on dandelions. I remember that every time I saw one, I would run and grab it, close my eyes, and blow the little puffballs into the world. What intrigues me is that I always made a single wish: clarity. At that age, maybe 10 or 11, I had little understanding of the world, but I was confused with life regardless, questioning what to do and where to go. I thought that someone would come into my life and simply tell me what I valued, what my passions were, my likes, my dislikes, my future. It's true that for a while I looked at others. I thought that if doing XYZ makes Matilda happy, then it should for me too. But it didn't. Let's take my guitar playing, for example. That originated from me seeing people online play invigorating riffs. I could feel their excitement and passion as they played. I thought that I could replicate this, feel the same love that they felt, but I couldn't. Likewise, Viktor E. Frankl, psychiatrist and founder of logotherapy, which translates to healing through meaning, likens one source of meaning to chess. If you asked a chess master who had played and won hundreds of games with a variety of opponents and situations what the best move in chess was, he or she could not tell you. It depends on where you are in the game, what the board looks like, and your own strengths as a player. Similarly, your purpose depends on your own identity and circumstances in life. But shouldn't it be simple to find your purpose then, if it depends on you? Actually, no. Similar to my experience, many people look outside of themselves for answers. Social media only expedites this process. We look at trends for what to want, influencers for how to live, gurus for how to think. We look at so many people other than ourselves. And none of this can help you pin down the specific meaning of your life, which is wholly individual to you. Consequently, these feelings form an underlying problem in the world: a lack of meaning and direction. After all, others simply cannot tell us how we feel. In this new and exciting age, it seems that we are at the brink of a crisis. And meaninglessness can cause all sorts of conflicts for you, such as being manipulated by others who exploit your uncertainty. But the deepest consequence may be what this means for yourself. A 2019 study analyzed the interrelation between quality of life and symptoms of grief. After accumulating results from 215 bereaved individuals, Fiona McCallum and Richard A. Bryant, PhD recipients, found that those who experienced symptoms of meaninglessness and confusion had a lower psychological quality of life. In other words, meaninglessness may cause psychological disorders and psychopathy, as was confirmed by the official United States National Library of Medicine. Furthermore, thoughts can travel from "life has no meaning" to "there's no point in trying." Accordingly, it's imperative to discover who you are, lest you live in confusion and perpetual meaninglessness. You need to disconnect from what others think, what others say, what others do. Because in the end, that's all they are, others. They cannot know you like how you know yourself. So, how do we decide what we want for ourselves? This is intuitive, but we remove the voices of others by consuming less and being with ourselves more. Let's break it down. Step 1. Reduce consumption. Usually, when we're bored, we pick up our phones and start scrolling. But this fills our minds with opinions and desires that aren't our own, that tell us how to think, feel, and act. It's not just our phones. The access to entertainment in the 21st century is astronomical. We listen to podcasts while doing work, read a book while listening to music. It's like we need something to fill our minds. But with so much external stimulation, we lose touch with our inner voices. Take a break from the consumption of entertainment, and there will be less input from others in your mind. Have you noticed how shower thoughts are so profound? That may be the one place that we don't bring our phones. Now, you can have that all the time. Step 2. Let yourself think. Often we underestimate the importance of the time that we give ourselves to think and process. We want to jump from one task to another and relax by consuming media. But we need to think in order to realize how we see the world. Each of us contains hidden treasures that are available to uncover if we look. It's absolutely incredible how beautifully intricate we are, and that we have access to our own complexities and nuances. You can learn so much from yourself if you take the time and listen to your thoughts. It's entertainment within itself, a challenge of self-understanding. You can even start running experiments. For instance, I tried a lot of different motivation techniques to figure out what worked for me. You can do something similar. You are your own personal guinea pig. So let yourself think, because those thoughts are a pathway to self-understanding. Step 3. Reach the end of thought. Dr. K, psychiatrist and streamer, argues that the best way to hear your inner voice is to reach the end of thought. When we first sit down with ourselves, we think of external things, tasks to complete, events coming up, different people and what they're doing. This is usually where it ends because these thoughts can get us to go do something. We don't know what comes after, but we can. All we need is time. We need to be able to hear the pleas of our brain to get up and do this or that and simply wait. To stay there and observe the tales that our minds spin. To be conscious of whether the origin of those thoughts are external or whether they come from within. Now your brain knows that you are truly listening. And with time, we will notice that our pondering will shift into something internal. We start to hear our own voices. To get to this stage, you can meditate, go on walks, or take hikes. Just be with yourself without any distractions for extended periods of time. Allow the thoughts to come. Then, allow them to go. You will soon observe how your thoughts change, as if transformed by alchemy into something internal. Let yourself think, and think without judgment until the external thought ends. All you're left with now are the true feelings and secrets of your soul. This is how to uncover your characteristics as a chess contestant. Know this, and you'll know how you should be playing. But how would you play when the other side has you in check? Viktor E. Frankl, neurologist and psychiatrist, knows what you need on your side. He found that purpose and hope saved lives through his own jarring experience. Aged 39, Frankl was sent to a concentration camp. He spent the next 3 years in 4 distinctly cruel camps, including Auschwitz, where he experienced barbarity on a daily basis. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, which detailed his experience in the camps, he wrote how he felt about himself. This body here, my body, is really a corpse already. What has become of me? Through his experience in the concentration camps, Frankl observed the prisoners around him. He was a psychiatrist, so he could see the phenomena that he studied about play out in front of him. What he found was that around the holidays, death rates in the concentration camps spiked. Prisoners hoped and prayed to be released by then, and when it got close enough to that date for them to realize that this would not be the case, They lost that hope. And it was this, Frankl observed, that killed them. He wrote, "They died less from a lack of food or medicine than from a lack of hope, lack of meaning." If people have nothing to live for, no hope to hold on to in situations like this, they simply won't. Their bodies will abandon them. This can also be illustrated in a different instance, when Frankl's senior block warden told Frankl about a dream that he had. In this dream, a voice told the warden to say whatever he wanted to know, and all of his questions would be answered. So, the warden asked when the war would be over for him, when the camp would be liberated. This dream occurred in February of 1945, and it was now the beginning of March. Frankl asked, "What did your dream voice answer?" And cautiously, full of hope, the warden whispered, "March 30th. The warden was still full of conviction that this dream would end up being true. But on March 29th, things remained in the same treacherous state. The warden then suddenly fell ill and developed a high temperature. On March 30th, the day of the prophecy, he lost consciousness. And on March 31st, the warden was dead. To many, it appeared to be a common case of typhus, but to Frankl, it was a dramatic awakening about the impact that hope and meaning could have. In other instances, meaning was able to save lives. For example, when Frankl was sick with typhus, a notorious killer in the concentration camps, he focused his efforts on rewriting his life's work. You see, he had brought with him a manuscript when he was first transferred to the camps that contained all of his research and conclusions about psychoanalysis, as well as the foundations of logotherapy. But it was taken, probably destroyed. So in his time of need, when his body was struggling against typhus, he would find little scraps of paper and take notes, in hopes that one day, if he survived, he would rewrite this work. And survive he did. Frankl frequently quotes philosopher Nietzsche in his book, writing, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." As long as you have a purpose in life, you will find a way to continue on, no matter how dire the circumstances that you find yourself in. Frankl survived in the concentration camps with the hope of rewriting a manuscript. Find something that will move you in the same way. It seems that you can come back when in check, if you have hope and meaning on your side. So don't just give up. Find a meaning in trying. But how do we do this? In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl addresses this by saying, ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather he must recognize that it is he who is asked. We should not seek an external answer to what is the meaning of life, rather switching our perspective to identify what life is asking of us. This way, we transform ourselves from passive recipients of life to active participants in creating our purpose. Ultimately, life presents us with a variety of challenges that we must respond to, problems to which we must apply a solution. Look at life with a resolve to be responsible and to accomplish whatever it necessitates. By our responses to the situations that we find ourselves in, we can create a meaningful existence for ourselves. In other words, meaning is not something to search for. It's something that we're tasked with to produce, something that we must consistently reinforce with our actions, decisions, and activities. It makes sense how meaning is unique, then, because we can only make it for ourselves. For Frankl, his purpose could have been creating logotherapy, which continues to persist today. It could have been spreading his words globally through his dozens of books. It could have even been the teens that he saved from suicide in Vienna, long before the concentration camps. Or it could have been all of the above. The truth is, our responsibilities fluctuate with time, and we must respond to this change. This means that the meaning that we create for ourselves will also vary throughout our lives. The different instances in which Frankl gave his existence meaning follow the principle of identifying what life necessitates. For example, his suicide prevention efforts in Vienna were a result of rising teen suicide rates in the area. Don't ask anything of life, discover what life is asking of you. It may be taking care of your child or writing a book that only you have the means to write. What is life asking of you? This is the chessboard. The demands of life and the situations that we find ourselves in, we have to be able to consider this, akin to the placement of the pieces in chess, in order to decipher the next best move. Now, we know our qualities as a player. We see the board, and we know that we can survive even when the game looks disastrous. With all of our preparations made, it's time to play.
I love you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow this podcast and our Instagram linked in the description. Share this with your friends if you liked it, and join us in 2 weeks for our next episode on the art of slowing down. Until next time, keep living a life fulfilled.